and I'll show you how I use these two things combined to get a nice neat cut. We've got these corner stops. You can use them on an internal corner as well as an external corner like this. Got him! Got him! G'day everyone, we're out at a job in Langwarrin. Now this job is primarily to replace some ruined weatherboards on this side of the house. It is an interesting job, so I'll explain that further in a minute, but basically this will be the first time I use cement sheet weatherboards on the channel, so that's what I want to show you in this episode. Replacing the plinth boards is part of the job, repairing these windows is a part of the job. As you can see, these weatherboards are just, yeah, time to be replaced. So we will be replacing them with cement sheet weatherboards, like I said, and I'll show you how to do that, but we got to get these ones off. We'll jump into the time lapses, we'll start salvaging some boards, and when it comes time to put the cement sheet weatherboards on, I'll show you how we go about that. But for now, let's just jump into some work, and I'll check back in later. We finally got our weatherboards delivered. Now, the two things I want to mention is work to your baseboard. Your baseboard should be level. You also want to check parallel, so a measurement at one end, each end of the house, and check that your measurement from the top of the board to the eave is same or similar. You can creep the boards a mil or two, and a mil or two would add up over a bunch of boards to win any discrepancies. With timber, you normally want to join them on a stud. With these, you don't have to join them on a stud because they actually have grooves, like a tongue and groove on the ends. So when you're cutting your boards, you want to keep those tongue and grooves in mind. You can cut those grooves off so long as you do join on a stud, but you can use those to your advantage so that you can just keep continuous boards happening. So we'll get the first few on, show you how it's happening, just nail them on with a coil nail. And the last thing to mention is, just as we progress, we want to check that we're staying level. We want our overlaps to be consistent, and we want our measurement down from the eave to be consistent, so that by the time we put that last board on, it's nice and parallel. We are recladding as opposed to working on a brand new house. There's a lot of services and things like that in the way, such as these pipes. So I'm just going to cut that off, clean it up, get a sleeve, and then glue the sleeve on and put the pipe back together after we cut a neat hole in the weatherboard. Now, you can use just a traditional hole saw. It doesn't have to be specific for masonry. It may help, but as long as you go slow with the kind of timber variety, as long as you go slow on the cement sheet, you should be okay. It also may cost you just a hole saw to get this kind of a job done. Sometimes that's what things cost. So we'll drill our hole, cut this off, glue it all back together, and that's pretty much one obstacle dealt with.
I'm a human recipro, mate.
Kitchen pipe jellies.
Pipe jellies?
Pipe jellies.
I'm confused. What's a pipe jelly?
Come look at it.
Huh?
Come look at it.
That. Oh, that.
Oh, yeah, that.
Oh, pipe jelly. I know what you're talking about.
Now back to your regularly scheduled program.
thought it'd be worthwhile to explain how we cut these. Traditionally, you would cut weatherboards with a handsaw and they would be made out of timber. In the modern world, you cut them with a circular saw or a drop saw. Now, a circular saw normally has a 36 tooth timber cutting blade. You can actually buy specific cement sheet cutting blades. They have only 4 teeth. You get the right blade. I've also bought a very, very cheap saw. This is probably the cheapest one I could get. The dust from these cement sheet boards can be pretty harmful to yourself and to your tools. I already had this cheap saw because of all the Hebel I did at my joint, so if you want to learn more about Hebel, there's another video for you there. But for now, we've just got this, and to get our cuts nice and straight, I have a steel square. We'll change the camera angle and I'll show you how I use these two things combined to get a nice neat cut. Just for the sake of a demonstration, let's say I've measured where I want to cut to there. You can square that line. You then want to line up your saw with that line. So you're most interested in looking at the blade at this point, and then just push the square and the saw together until you're happy that your blade's lined up with your mark. And when it is, you really want to clamp down on that, and you push the square towards yourself because you're pushing the saw away from yourself. Now you can also use that trick on timber weatherboards or 90 by 45 or anything. You can use that trick pretty much anywhere you use a circular saw, but it's specifically helpful because you can't really cut these on a drop saw as far as I know. At least it's not worthwhile in my opinion. That's probably the only trick you need to know. The rest is pretty self-explanatory. Just a few things to go over here. Now we've got these corner stops. You can use them on an internal corner as well as an external corner like this. Now you want to try your best to match the heights of the weatherboards, especially around the corners. It's difficult when the weatherboards are different types and different dimensions, so you might not win that argument in a extension renovation situation like this. But we've definitely gotten it right in the corners. And what we've done is just gone level across, just so we keep things right through the window.
Got him!
Got him!
Moving on to the last wall with the cement sheet weatherboards. Now my helper hasn't showed up today, so I'm going to show you how you can actually put the longer boards on by yourself. It is a bit trickier, but obviously that's the trade-off. You might save money on labor, but it's going to take you longer on your own. What I'll show you how it's done. It's pretty simple. It's a couple screws or a couple nails. I'm using screws in this instance because nails don't really go well into the cement sheet and they cause a lot of damage when you pull them back out. So we just use screws in the cement sheet, find out where our level line is, or we just keep our 25mm overlap consistent depending on what you're aiming for by the time you get to the top, if you remember what I mentioned last time. So once we get up towards this window, the boards will be shorter and a lot easier to manage on my own. So I've got a couple marks. That's just 25mm, that's the overlap we want. And I've checked this board that's already fixed, that's actually level, so it's good to just run parallel with this board now. Just put a couple screws. Aim for a little bit below the line. And that way you can always lift the board back up before you nail it, because you definitely don't want your screws getting in the way, especially if you're not on your mark. So let's go cut a board and then I'll nail it on. Now, if you're wondering how I decide what length to cut the boards or where to start, usually you just start with a full board. You either cut the tongue or the groove off. You don't want those showing if they're not actually being used, so that's where you start. And then you basically use your offcuts like any other kind of carpentry practice, whether it's decking or floorboards or weatherboards. If you can, start with an offcut and then cut your next piece in to suit. or use a full one until you get to the end of the run, and then you should have a offcut at the end, and then that's where you start on your next run. So that's how I've established what pieces to use, and other than that, it's not too complicated. You just measure and cut and nail. As you can see, just to reiterate, I've got a short piece here. That's my offcut. So on the next run up, I'll put the offcut on first and then cut a piece in after that. Alright, that's it for the cement sheet weatherboard tutorial. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to check out my channel, and until next time, thanks for watching. I just want to take this opportunity to talk about flashings. This is poorly designed. Putting a screw every 500 mil.